You guys know we tried to start the tradition, which I think has worked out. This will be the third year. Last home game, we like to have a senior night and honor our seniors at the athletic banquet. They cover all the sports, and I always talk too long, so I want to do it on their own night because they deserve that. This year, we apologize. We had parents' night after the Gibbon game. We didn't really see that coming, and so we just scheduled this separate so we could honor them at the last home game like we always planned. And this group certainly deserves it. And now we can enjoy it, even though we made that a little more closer than I wanted to. We got her done. I'm going to call them up one by one. This group talking about, I thought yesterday, I thought the stats would be there for them, so I went to pull some stats, and that was a lot bigger job than I thought. It took me a lot longer than I thought because of the numbers these guys have put up, and I think you'll hear them and how impressive they are. Nate Bubach is the first I'd like to come on up. Give him a hand. Obviously, we're not done. These numbers are a little off already because of the numbers they put up tonight. But Nate, in his career, has totaled 369 points, 257 rebounds, and 124 assists. Not surprisingly, the quarterback, right? He always leads our team in passing. Nate's a little bit of a tough read if you don't know him. He's an easy read if you do. His quiet leadership is very important to our team. You'll hear me say that about another senior of ours, but level-headed. I mean, we could be on a 20-0 run or a 0-11 run, and you can't tell. Nate's always calm under pressure, always gets us organized, will take charge when we need, and certainly vital to our team. His percentages, if you look at his three-point shooting, you guys probably noticed how he came on in a flurry. Started out rough, didn't have his legs under him yet, but he's certainly become a sharpshooter for us, and something that we're going to use moving forward. So we couldn't do it without Nate. He's been a big leader throughout, and also I'd say he's improved a lot since he was about a 6th grader. Left hand still coming along, but we're doing good. So give Nate a hand. He's been very good. Big song on him. Come on. A big boy in the middle. I call him Jason. I always feel bad. Moms sometimes want you to call him by their first name, but I know Heidi calls him that, so I'm safe. Jay Stahl's had 369 points in his career, 314 rebounds. This season he's shooting 57% from the floor, which currently puts him 6th all-time in Cozad basketball history, so that's certainly impressive. He's 57% from 2, and I thought, I got to look at what he is from the floor, and I remembered that he doesn't get to shoot threes, so he's 57% from the floor, and he's still waiting for that one 3-pointer, and keeps begging me every game to run cops for him, but that's our 3-point play. So maybe that will happen, but don't count on it. But he certainly rules the paint for us, and this kid I can't say enough about, whether it's choir, thespians, working with the youth, probably an FBLA, a number of things. He'll stretch himself almost too thin at times, and he's involved in everything and throws himself into everything the right way. If you can see him work with our kids on Saturday mornings, he enjoys it, and it shows, I think, in building our program. You'll hear me say this about this entire group, but our youth program, the numbers we have is largely because of these guys and Nate and Jay Stahl. But the way Jay Stahl works with the kids, it's a huge compliment to him. I recently received an email in the last few weeks about how much their son benefited from Jay Stahl. I actually said, bring him up after practice. Jay Stahl and I can work on him with some post moves. And they replied that he already got a lot out. Jay Stahl working with him. Wednesdays are early out, right? You guys get out of school early Wednesday, and these guys have been working with some middle schoolers, and a lot of people don't know that. They put in a lot of time, not just for our team, but our program, and Jay Stahl is certainly a leader in that, so give him a hand. Jake, he keeps it fun on our team always, which we need. When I'm getting grumpy, he'll make sure he keeps everybody in the right mood. Jake's had 600, well more now, but he's before today, 610 points in his career, which is approaching the top 10 all time in Cozad basketball history. 177 rebounds, 165 steals, which is 12 steals away from leading history, I guess. He'll be number one, 12 steals away from Brendan Holbein's record of career steals, and I think after tonight he's about 7 away. We think he's going to get that record. He certainly deserves it. You guys have seen him do it for 4 years. He's hit 55 three-point shots, more now, which I think is 6th all-time. So Corey's going to have some work to do out on the record board here. He's managed to have 126 assists with that. And I just read you those numbers, and Jake will hear him say, well, I'm not a basketball player. Well, he's a basketball player. He's just an unbelievable football player, so sometimes you forget how good he is at basketball. But Jake has really stepped into a role. Jacob Rushell honor, and you know that we lost one of our shooters this year, and Jake has really stepped in with his jump shot ability, and a lot of people didn't know that he could shoot. Because I make him drive all the time, but he's a shooter, and that's been really big for us, not just tonight, but in several games, and will be going forward. So that's been very impressive. Jake's another one of the guys with the youth. Kids on Saturday morning when they come in, they have separate problems. I remember one Saturday morning, one young man was having trouble in tears, and the first guy that goes and has his arm around him is Jake Paulson. And the way that these kids, not just Jake, but they look up to this group so much, and they handle it very, very well. That's a big compliment to Jake, and should make his parents proud. So give him a hand. Tyson had 197 points in his career, and he's had about 115 to 120 of them this year. With 58 assists, but there is absolutely no question in my mind when you're talking about most improved player from last year, this year, is Tyson Warner. And I don't know how much of that is how much he improved, but I think his skills were always there, and he's just stepped to the forefront. He's become absolutely deadly from what I call the Michael Jordan 15-foot mid-range jumper. They guarded it tonight. You can tell they're going to be up on Tyson, because if you leave him, it's a good chance it's going down. His shooting percentage from 2 is over 50% as well, which is impressive for a guard. But Tyson's another one of those kids like Nate that he'll keep an even head, and you don't know if he's turned it over 3 times or he just scored 20 points. He's even keeled, and that's huge when you get in tough atmospheres and pressure games, and that's very important to our team. But I cannot say enough. You'll hear me talk about these guys all have to take on different roles, and Tyson has stepped up and fit in. If you'd asked me at the beginning of the year, would Tyson be a starter for most of the games, I'd have said, maybe not, maybe half the games, depends on what he does. He made that decision easy. He's a kid that we need on the floor offensively. He's been so consistent that we can't do without him. And the type of kid he is, I can't think of one problem with Tyson I've ever had. And that's a huge compliment to him and his parents, and they should be proud of him. So, I know the first thing Tanner will want me to tell you is that after Jacob Rush, you guys are going to, Jacob, I know gets tired of me talking about the injury, but Tanner has stepped up, and he wants me to tell you that he is our leading three-point percentage shooter. 40% from the three-point line. The guy's deadly. Yes, he's 2 for 5, but that is a good percentage from 3. And all joking aside, Tanner gives me grief, so I have to give it back. And Tanner's one of those kids that I know who I can be extra hard on, and sometimes when I can't. And Tanner will take the brunt of anything. If I'm trying to get the group going and I need to go after somebody, Tanner will have to bring it over here. He takes it. But he knows his role so well. And it's not easy for a kid on the football team, played such a vital role on their run for the championship. Linebacker, and then you come into basketball. Tanner loves basketball, and summer, open gyms, individual workouts. No one works harder than Tanner. And it's not easy to come off a season like that in football and then take a role in basketball where you got to sit more and watch. And never once has he questioned it or said, why am I not playing here, or why am I not playing more? He says, you let me know when you need me and I'm ready to go. You guys have seen it, whether it's a physical game with Borkhardt once. He mixed it up in the middle of Gothenburg. He's guarding 6'9" and hits him away from the hoop. Hershey got some big stops, hits the middle jumpers. Ainsworth, we have 2 kids, 2 starters sick all week. Tanner goes in and we find out right away they're sagging all the way in the paint. He's going to play off them and double everybody else. And we called a timeout, and I said, Tanner, you passed up that first one. If they're going to sag, shove it down their throat, meaning hit the 3. I don't pick my words very well. And Tanner, if you remember, buried it. And those types of plays set the tone where they're thinking, here's our weak spot, we're going to play off. Nope, he was ready to go and steps in when you need him and makes the plays, and that's big for us. The biggest compliment I can give to Tanner is my old college coach coaches at Hastings High now, and he said, who's that kid? And he was watching the Hershey film. He said, who's that kid that plays in the middle of the zone? He looks like a linebacker. I said, he's a linebacker. That's Tanner. And he said, I love to watch him play because he can see that he thinks the game, tries not to do anything he can't do, and plays within that role. And when this team is doing that, when we find your roles and you fit into that role, that's when the team comes together. And nobody defines that better than Tanner. So give that. I wanted to suit him up tonight, announce it in classic Jacob style. He doesn't want any special attention, and I said, I can find other ways to embarrass you. That's easy. But I was going to make him wear his uniform over his shirt and tie and his shorts over his pants. But anyway, I wanted to announce him tonight, and we didn't do enough for him because he didn't want us to, but there's no way we can. I can't say enough about Jacob. He's had 653 points in his career. And missed out on this season, which everyone feels for him, and he's hated it, but the way he's handled it, I'll talk about in a minute. But 653 points, and if he has an average season, he's getting dang near close to 1,000 points, and he'd be second all time on the record board, so that's saying something. He's also had 207 rebounds, found time for 83 assists, and I'm pleased to say the record holder for the 3-point field goals was my baby brother, James, with 93. It makes me even happier that I can go after James now and talk about how JR just blew him away. And Jacob will be the new record holder with 113 3-point field goals. If he comes out and does what he does this year, he's looking about 160, 165 3-point field goals. So you think about top 10 all time, second place would be 93 behind his 160 whatever. He had 39% from 3 last year, which would be 6th all time on the record board out there. But with those numbers, there's no exaggeration or I'm not being dramatic. It's absolutely factual. And no disrespect to the shooters that have come through here before the 3-point line. But Jacob Rushell is the most prolific shooter to ever play for Kozad basketball. The last thing I want to say about Jacob, with him sitting out this year, it's been so big for me to have him on the bench and to have him as part of the team from that angle because he sees the game. Now I can talk with him, and also it gives that, I don't know what you call it, a connection between team, player, and coach. A good go-between. It helps a coach get a sense for how the team's feeling, how their legs are, their attitude, that they want the day off, or they're ready to go to work, or whatever. But he's been there. He never blinked an eye this whole season. We didn't have to talk about, okay, here's your role. I'm going to need you to come to practice every day, even though you may not want to. He's at practice, unless he has to leave for physical therapy, and he's right back. Or if he's late because he's at physical therapy, he comes. And the maturity he's handled this whole thing with blows me away. And it's a huge compliment to him, I keep saying, and his parents. I couldn't be prouder of him, and there's been times we've had some conversations maybe after games where I know it's killed him. You know, you lose a game to giving in overtime, you don't think that he goes home thinking, I could have shot the worst I've ever shot, and we're going to win that game. And I have to tell him, we talk about it, but he doesn't get to go to his buddies and say, man, if I were, because it can hold a team back, and he hasn't stood in the way of that. And the way he's pushed and been behind them just says mountains about him. And so I know everyone feels for him, but we don't need to feel sorry for him because he's dealt with it. And I want him to have his big moment. I was like, I don't want you to give up your big moment, get announced because you don't want attention. He said, that's not my big moment. Going to state's my big moment. He's behind the team 100%, and we're behind him. So I give him a round of applause. This group, real quick, I wanted to give you guys some numbers. I said I wanted to bring out some stats. This senior group has scored 2,000, these are low now, remember, 2,214 points, 1,050 rebounds, 355 steals, 436 assists. And you talk about the winning tradition, right? You want to get back to that winning tradition. I think the last conference champions in basketball is 99. They went 12 and 10. Since then, the last 9 years, and again, there's a lot of people that worked hard for us to get to this point, but I think for the 9-10 years, Cozad had, I believe, like 23 wins. This group, in 3 years, has had now 36 wins, and by my math, we hope that's going to be over 40. But that's what they've done, and our program is where that is at. They're the Southwest Conference champions. We went 5-1 in the Southwest Conference with a 2-point loss to the team that we avenged and beat them in the semifinals. But these guys, we have 80 boys in 1st through 6th grade in our youth basketball program. And the reason is this group. What they did in football, what they do in basketball, how they work with the kids. Our program, I told them in a meeting before the game, our program, where it's at to churn teams out every year, is because of what these guys have done over the last 4 years. And that's not easy to do. And you talk about this year, how we started. I'm sure these guys regretted going undefeated and winning the championship, and they just hated that because we didn't get to practice for Chase County. I bet if they had it to do over again, they'd say, forget the trophy, we need to practice basketball. No, but what they did was amazing, and you come out, everyone talks about football, and that we only had 2 practices, but they had that to deal with. Then the one consistent player for 3 years, they lose him. And then no mental break, no physical break, everything. And it took a while to find out who we were and what your role is. When you lose a guy like Jacob, everyone steps into a different role or adjusts it a little bit. And you've seen them do that, and that's what's put us on the role that we're on, and they're not done. But the 80 kids in youth basketball, and the reason we have student managers come out of our ears is because they want to be around this group. And that has picked up the whole basketball program, the athletic program, and the community. And I just, kids that age that have had pressure to deal with for as long as they have, they've handled it so well. And we appreciate the support. Know that you'll be behind us moving forward because we've had 2 goals. This group had 2 goals. We talked about 5 minutes. We didn't have to write anything down. Southwest Conference champions, check. 35 years it's been since we've gone to state and worked to that point. We need one more 3-game tournament, just like when they won conference, and these guys are ready to do it. So they appreciate you, and I'd like you to show them how much you appreciate them for what they've done.